head seeing nothing is Antigone. She's thinking that the second I finish telling you who's who and what's what in this play, she will burst forth as the dark, tense, serious girl who is about to rise up and face the world alone. Alone against the world, and against her uncle, Creon, king. Another thing that she's thinking is this. She's going to die.
Antigone is young. She would much rather live than die. But there is no help for it. When you are on the side of the gods against the tyrant, of man against the state, of purity against corruption. When, in short, your name is Antigone, there is only one part you can play. And she will have to play hers through to the end. Mind you, Antigone doesn't know all these things about herself. I know them because it is my business to know them. That's what a Greek chorus is for. All that she knows is that Creon won't allow her dead brother to be buried, and that despite Creon, she must bury him.
Antigone doesn't think. She acts. She doesn't reason, she feels. And from the moment that curtain went up, she began to feel that inhuman forces were whirling her out of this world, snatching her away from her sister's vein, whom we see smiling at that young man. The young man with his mane, the gay and golden, his mane is Haman. He is Creon's son, the king's son. Antigone and he are engaged to be married, and well, here is Haman expecting to marry Antigone. He won't, of course. That distinguished, powerfully built man sitting lost in thought is Creon, the king. His face is lined, he is tired. He practices the difficult art of a leader of men. Now for the play.
Oedipus, who was the father of the two girls Antigone and his maid, had also two sons, Eteocles and Polynices. After Oedipus died, it was agreed that the two sons should share his throne, each to reign over Thebes in alternate years. But when Eteocles, the elder son, had reigned a full year, and time had come for him to step down, he refused to yield his throne to his younger brother Polynices.
There was civil war. Eteocles and Polynices met in combat and killed one another just outside the city walls. Now, Creon is king. Creon has issued a solemn edict that Eteocles, on whose side he was, is to be buried with pomp and honors, while Polynices is to be left to rot. The vultures and the dogs are to gloat themselves on his carcass. And above all, any person who attempts to give him a decent burial will himself be put to death. It is against this blasphemy that Antigone rebels.
What is for Creon merely the climax of a political purge is for her a hideous offense against God and man. Since time began, men have recoiled with horror from the desecration of the dead. A distant clock strikes 4. It is dawn, gray and ashen, in a house asleep. Antigone steals in from out of doors. She is carrying her sandals in her hand.
Where have you been?
Nowhere. It was beautiful. The whole world was dark and gray when I went out, and now you would recognize it. It's pink and green and yellow.
It was still pitch black when I got up. I went to your room where I thought you might have thrown off your blanket in the middle of the night. You weren't there.
The garden was lovely. You were still asleep.
You hadn't slept in your bed. I couldn't find you. I went to the back door you left to have open.
The fields were wet. The whole world was waiting, breathless, waiting. I took off my sandals and slipped into the field.
You'd want to wash your feet before you go back to bed, miss.
I'm not going back to bed.
Don't be a fool. Get some sleep.
Do you think if I got up every morning, the first person out the doors would be this beautiful?
Morning, my eye. It was night. It still is. And now, my girl, you stop trying to swerve out of this and tell me what you're up to. You went out to meet someone, didn't you?
Yes, I went out to to meet someone.
You have a lover?
Yes, nurse, I have a lover.
Well, it's very nice now, isn't it? You, the daughter of the king, running out to be lovers. But your Uncle Creon will hear this, that I promise you.
Yes, Uncle Creon will hear this.
And we'll hear what he has to say when he finds out you go wandering around all night. Not to mention having for the girls engaged, going to be married. Going to be married, and she pops out of bed and born in order to meet someone else in the field.
Nanny, please, I want to be alone.
And he's so much unspeakable that she says she wants to be alone.
Nanny, don't scold. This isn't a day when you should be losing your temper.
Not stolen indeed, along with the rest of it. I'm to like it. Didn't I promise your mother? What would she say if she was here? Old stupid, that's what she called me, old stupid. I have to know how to keep my little girls pure.
Nanny, you will cry. You'll be able to look Mother in the eye when it's your time to see her. She knows what I have now today. I'm pure. I swear that I have no other lover than you. If you like, I swear that I shall never have any other lover than you. Save your tears, Nanny. You might still need them.
Antigone, what are you doing up at this hour? I've just been to your room.
The two of you now. Have you both gone mad to be up before the kitchen fire has started?
Nanny, go get me some tea. It would do me so much good.
One for me.
Aren't you well?
Yes, of course. I just got up to her.
I couldn't sleep either.
This made me want not go without your beauty sleep.
Don't make fun of me.
I'm not. Truly. Seeing how beautiful you are this morning makes everything easier. Wasn't I a nasty little beast when you were small? I used to fling mud at you and put worms down your neck. And when I tied to that tree and cut off all your hair, your beautiful hair. Oh, how easy is it never to be unreasonable with that beautiful curly hair sat on your head.
Why do you insist upon talking about other things?
I'm not.
I've thought about it a lot.
Have you?
I've thought about it all night long. Antigone, you're mad.
Am I?
We cannot do it.
Why not?
Creon will have us put to death.
Of course he'll have us put to death. That's the way it is. But we're bound to go out and marry our brother. What do you think we can do to change that?
I don't want to die.
I prefer not to die myself.
Listen to me, Antigone. I know I may be everything you are, but I always think things through, and you don't.
Sometimes it's better not to think so much.
I don't agree with you. Oh, I know it's horrible. I know Polynices was cheated out of his rights, that he made war, that Creon took sides against him when he was killed. And I pity Polynices just as much as you do. But all the same, I can see what Uncle Creon means. Uncle Creon is thinking now. He has to set an example.
An example? Creon orders that our brother, rot and putrefied, be mangled like dogs and birds of prey. That is against every human instinct, against the laws of God and man. And you talk about examples?
There you go. Off on your own again. Refusing to pay the slightest heed to anybody. At least you might try to understand.
I only understand that a man lies rotting and unburied, that he's my brother, and he must be buried.
But Creon won't let us bury him. And he is stronger than we are. He is the king. He has made himself king.
I'm not listening to you anymore.
Oh, you must! You must know how Creon works. His mob will come running and howling as it runs. 1,000 arms will seize our arms. 1,000 breasts will breathe into our faces. And like one single pair of eyes, 1,000 eyes will stare at us. We'll be dragged to the scaffold for torture and surrounded by guards with their idiot faces and all. And we shall suffer. We shall feel pain rising in us until it becomes so unbearable that we know it must stop, but it won't stop. It'll go on rising and rising like a screaming voice. No, I can't take it.
Oh, how well you've thought it all out.
I thought about it all night long. Didn't you?
Oh, yes.
I'm an awful coward, Antigone.
So am I. What does that have to do with it?
Don't you want to go on living?
Go on living? Who was always the first out of bed every morning because she loved the touch of the cold morning air on her bare skin? Or the last to bed because nothing but the infinite weariness could wean her from the lingering night?
Antigone, my darling sister.
No, for pity's sake! You've thought it all out, haven't you? The howling mob, the fear of torture, the death. They made up their mind for these that.
Antigone, be reasonable. It is all very well for men to believe in ideas and die for them, but you are a girl. houses in the street. And when you go by, the little girls, they stop talking and they stare. And they stare at you until you turn a corner.
Little tough boys. Little girls.
And what about Haman?
I shall see him this morning. I'll take care of him. Go to bed now, Antigone. Colonize him as well as guard as if he had won the war and was sitting on his throne.
What are you going to do?
Come on over to your breakfast.
Please go back to bed.
If I do, promise me you won't leave the house.
Very well, then. I promise.
Come along, breakfast, my dear.
I'm not very hungry, Nan.
My darling, where's your pain?
Nowhere. But you must keep me warm and safe. Keeping your hand as if I was sick and you'd sit beside me in bed.
My lamb, what is it? What's eating your heart out?
Nothing. It's just, I'm not quite sure I'm strong enough for what I have to do. But nobody but you must know it.
Not strong enough for what, my kid?
Nothing. I'm so glad you're here. You can hold your calloused hand that ward off evil. You're very powerful, Nanny.
Antigone!
Nanny, go inside, because Haman's here. Haman, forgive me for quarreling with you last night. Forgive me for everything. I beg of you to forgive me. It was all my fault.
You know that I forgive you. You hardly slammed the door when I the perfume still hung in the room. You stole it. From whom?
It's me.
And the rouge and face powder and the dress.
It's me.
In whose honor did you get yourself up so glamorous?
What a fool I was. To waste a whole evening, a whole beautiful evening.
We'll have other evenings.
Perhaps we won't.
And other quarrels too. Happy little stolen quarrels.
A happy look. Yes. Haman, listen.
Yes,
Don't laugh at this. Be serious.
I am serious.
And hold me tight. Tighter than you've ever held me. I want all your strength to flow into me.
There. With all my strength.
You love me, don't you? You love me as a woman wants to be loved. Your arms around me, they aren't lies, are they? This warmth, this strength, as I stand so close to you, they aren't lies, are they?
Antigone, my daughter. I love you.
I'm not pretty. This Mamie is pink and golden. She's like a fruit.
Antigone.
Forgive me. I'm ashamed of myself. But this morning, this special morning, I must know. I beg of you to tell me the truth. When you think of me, when it strikes you that I'm going to belong to you, do you get this feeling like something deep inside of you is being hollowed out and you feel like a part of yourself is just dying?
Yes, I do.
That's the way I feel. There. And now I have two things to tell you. And once I've told them to you, you must go away instantly without asking any questions, however strange they might seem to you or however much they might hurt you. Swear that you will.
What is this thing?
Swear first that you go away instantly without asking any questions, without so much as looking at me. Do you hear me, Haman? It's the last matter which you'll ever have granted.
I swear it.
Thank you. Well, here it is. I'm going to cause you such a lot of pain, but I shall never be able to marry you. Never.
Antigone!
Haman, you took a solemn oath, you swore. Leave me now. Tomorrow the whole thing will be clear to you before tomorrow this afternoon. Go, now! It's the last thing you can do for me if you still love me.
In the distance, the clock is heard striking 1.
Captain of the guards, O sir, standing over the body, show me.
Private Jonas, 2nd Battalion.
And what are you doing here?
It's like this, Chief. As soon as it happened, we said, gotta tell the Chief about this before anybody else spills it. He'll want to know right away. So we tossed a coin to see which one would come up and tell you about it. You see, Chief, we thought only one man better come, because after all, you don't want to leave the body without a guard, right? I mean, there's 3 of us on duty guarding the body.
The body, come on.
Chief, I've been 17 years in the service. Volunteer, 2 citations. My record's clean. I know my business and I know my place.
What's the matter with you, man? Why are you shaking?
It writes the corporal's job, Chief. I mean, I've been recommended for a corporal.
The body! What is the matter? And if something has gone wrong, I will break all 3 of you.
With my eye on it. Listen, Chief, I was the first man to see it. Me. They'll tell you I was the one who let out that yell.
The body! What is the matter with the body?
Somebody had been there and buried him. It wasn't much, you understand. Just covered over with a little dirt and that's all. But enough to hide it from the buzzards.
And you're sure it couldn't have been some dog scratching up the earth?
Not a chance, Chief. That's kind of what we hoped it was. But the earth was scattered over the body just like the priest told you should do it. Whoever did the job knew what he was doing all right.
Was there any indication as to who would have dared?
Not a thing, Chief. Maybe we heard a footstep. I can't swear to it. Of course, we started right in the search. And the corporal found a shovel. A kid's shovel. No bigger than that, all rusty and everything. The corporal's got the shovel for you. We thought maybe a kid did it.
A kid? I broke the back of the rebellion. But like a snake, it's coming back together. Who knows about this?
Only us 3, Chief. We flipped the coin and I came right over.
Right. Now listen. We'll go back on duty. Relief squad will come up. Just tell them to go back to the barracks. You'll uncover the body and keep a sharp watch. If any attempt is made to get that body buried, you will make the arrest and you'll bring them straight to me. You're all guilty of neglect on duty anyway, and you will be punished. But if word gets out that the body received a burial, you will be hung! All 3 of you!
We never told nobody. I swear we didn't. Anyhow, up in the beer, suppose my pal spilled it to the relief. I can't have it with it in here, too. Then would it be my fault you talked? Chief, I've got 2 kids. You're my witness, Chief. It couldn't have been me. I was here with you. If anybody talked, it couldn't have been me. I was
clear! And word doesn't get out. You won't be hung. A kid.
And now the spring is wound up tight. It will uncoil of itself. That is what is so convenient in tragedy. You don't have to lift a finger. The machine is in perfect order. It has been oiled ever since time began. Death, treason, and sorrow are on the march, and they move in the wake of storm, of tears, and of stillness.
Tragedy is clean. It is firm. It is flawless. In a tragedy, nothing is in doubt, and everyone's destiny is known. That makes for tranquility. And the reason for that is hope. That foul, deceitful thing has no part in it. There isn't any hope. You're trapped. The whole sky has fallen on you, and all you can do about it is to shout. Come on now, miss. Give it or rest.
Keep your dirty hands off of me!
Dirty hands, huh? And what about stiffs and dirt and such? Like, you wasn't afraid to touch them, were you? Dirty hands, take a look at your own dirty hands.
My father is
upon our orders, sir, we made this arrest and brought the party in.
Where did these men find you?
Right by the body.
And what were you doing near your brother's body? You know what my orders were.
What was she doing, Chief? That's why we brought her in. She was digging out the dirt with her nails, and she was trying to cover up the body all over again.
Is this true?
Yes.
And it was you who buried the body the first time you met.
Yes. The seashell we used to take to the seashore when we were children. It was Polynices. He had carved his name in the handle. That's why I left it with him, but those guards took it away. So the next time I had to use my hand.
She was clawing away like a wild
You will wait outside.
Or put the cuffs back on her, Chief.
No. Have you told anyone what you meant to do?
No.
Did you meet anyone on your way, coming or going?
No, nobody.
You're sure of that?
Yes, I'm quite sure.
Right. Now listen. You will go back to your room, and you will go to bed. You'll say that you've been sick, that you haven't been out since yesterday. Have your nurse say the same, and dispose of those men.
Uncle Creon, there's no reason to kill those guards. You must know I'll do it all over again tonight.
Why? Why did you bury your brother?
I owed it to him.
I had it forbidden.
I owed it to him. Those who are not buried wander eternally and find no rest. I owed it to him to unlock the house of the dead in which mother and father are waiting for him. Polynices has earned his rest.
Polynices was a rebel and a traitor, and you know it.
He was my brother.
You were my edict. It was proclaimed throughout Thebes. You read my edict. It was posted on the city walls.
Yes.
And you know the punishment I decreed for anyone who attempted to give him burial.
Yes, I know the punishment.
Oh, did you by chance act on the assumption that the daughter of Oedipus was above the law?
I did not act on that assumption.
Because if you had acted on that assumption, you would have been deeply wrong. You're the daughter of lawmakers, the daughter of kings. You must observe the law.
Had I been a scullery maid when that law was read aloud to me, I would have washed my hands and gone on in my apron to bury my
Oh,
brother.
what nonsense. If you had been a scullery maid, there would have been no doubt in your mind about the seriousness of my edict. You would have been happy to weep for your brother, but no, not you. You felt it because you were the daughter of Oedipus, and my niece, and I'm going to marry my son, that I shouldn't dare have you killed.
You are mistaken. I never doubted for an instant that you would have me put to death.
The pride of Oedipus. Oedipus and his headstrong pride all over again. I see your father in you, and I believe you to think I have you killed, proud as you are. It would only be the natural climax to your existence. Your father was like that. For him, human happiness was meaningless. Mere human misery wasn't enough to satisfy his passion for torment. You come from people whom the human vested. It's a kind of straitjacket. It cracks at the seams. You spend your lives wriggling to get out of it. Nothing less than some cozy tea party with death or destiny will quench your thirst. And you are going to be killed? No. No, I have other plans for you. You are going to marry him. And you're going to give him a strong boy, let me assure you. Thebes needs a good boy a lot more than it needs your death. And you will go to your room, and you will do as you've been told. Oh, don't alienate me with those eyes. I know you must think I'm a brute, or consider me some pro-sack, but the fact of the matter is, I've always been fond of you, Antigone. Stubborn though you were, don't forget that the first dove you ever had came from me. And where are you going?
You know very well.
What sort of game are you playing?
I'm not playing games.
Do you realize that apart from those gods, a single soul finds out about what you tried to do 5 minutes more and it will be too late.
I must go out and bury my brother. Those men have
And
uncovered
what
him.
good will it do? The other men standing on the pond next to his body. Even if you did cover him over with earth, the earth would again be removed.
I know all that, but that at least I can do. And what a person can do, a person should do.
Tell me, Antigone, do you really believe the priests of Thebes? Have you watched them preparing the dead for burial? Skipping half the gestures required for their ritual, swallowing half their words, rushing the dead to their graves out of fear of being late for lunch?
Yes, I have seen that.
And did you say to yourself as you watched them, that someone you really love lay dead under the sniffling, mumbling ministrations of those priests, that you'd scream aloud and beg them to leave the dead in peace?
Creon, there's God and there's priests. They're not the same thing. You're not free to do men as you wish, not even if they're dead.
You must want very much to die. You look like a trapped animal.
Stop feeling sorry for me. Do as I do. Do your job. But if you're human, do it quickly.
I want to save you, Antigone.
You are the king and you are all-powerful, but that you cannot do.
Oh, you think not?
Neither save me nor stop me.
Prideful Antigone.
Only this you can do. Have me put to death.
Have you tortured, perhaps?
Why should you do that? To see me cry? To hear me beg for mercy?
Now listen. You've cast me as some villain in this little play of yours. And you're self-fed Harry, you know. But don't push me too far.
Let me go. You're hurting my
I would
arm.
not let you go. I should have done this from the start. I was a fool to waste words. We may be family, but we're not close, are we? Oh, what fun for you. To laugh in the face of a man who has all power, who's killed those just as powerful as you, and is still soft enough to keep you from death.
You're squeezing my arm too tightly now. It doesn't hurt anymore.
I shall save you yet. God knows I have other things to do today, without dealing with an insect like you. But urgent things can wait. I'm not going to let politics be the cause of your death. This whole matter, after all, it's nothing but politics. That mournful shade of polymers, that sentimental weaving and hysteria you mistake for heroism? It's politics, nothing about it. Look here. I may be soft, but I'm fastidious. I like things clean, ship-shape, well scrubbed. Don't think that I'm not just as offended as you are by the thought of that meat rotting outside. In the evening, when the breeze comes off the ocean, you can smell it in the palace, and it nauseates you. My God, if it was up to me, I would have had your brother buried from the start, as a mere matter of public hygiene. But if that feather-headed rabble, over which I govern, are to understand what's what, that stench has to fill the town for a month.
You are a loathsome man.
I agree. My trade forces me to be. We could argue whether I ought to or ought to not follow my trade. But once I take up a job, I must see to it properly.
Why do you do it at all?
My dear, I woke up one morning, king of thieves. God knows the other things in life I love more than power.
You could have said no.
Yes, I could have said no. Only I felt it would have been cowardly. I should have been like a workman who turns down a job that has to be done. So I said yes.
So much the worse for you than that I didn't say no. Because I can say no to anything I do is vile, and I don't have to count the cost. But because you said yes, offer your lust for power, your crown, your trappings, your guards, all you can do is have me put to death.
Now listen.
If I want to. There's nothing you can tell me I don't already know. You stand because of your guards, but I am a queen.
Then why not have pity on me and live? Is the thought of your brother's corpse rotting beneath my windows payment enough for peace and order and peace?
No. You said yes. You made yourself king. Now you will never stop paying.
Why? Why don't you try to understand me? I'm trying hard enough to understand you. There had to be one man who said yes. Someone had to agree to captain the ship. She had sprung 100 leagues. She was loaded to the waterline with crime and ignorance and poverty. Do you now understand?
I'm not here to understand things. I'm here because I said no to you.
Oh, it is easy to say.
Not always.
It is easy to say no. To say yes. You have to sweat. Plunge both hands into life, up to the elbows. It is easy to say no. Even if no means death. That's the coward's part. My part is not the heroic one, but I will play my part. And I will have you put to death. But before I do, I want to make one last appeal. Do you know what you're dying for, Antigone? To what sordid story you're going to sign your name for all time to come?
What story?
The story of Antigone and Polynices. The story of your brothers. You think you know that story, but you don't. Nobody in Thebes knows that story really. Do you want to know what your brothers really were?
Whatever he was. I know you're just going to say vile things about him.
A cheap, idiotic thug, that's what he was. I was with your father one day. When Polynices had lost a lot of money gambling, came to him to settle the debt. And when your father refused, the boy raised his hands against him, calling him a vile name.
That's a lie.
He struck your father in the face with his fist.
That's a lie!
And when did you last see Polynices? Alive. That is, when you were what, 12 years old. That's true, isn't it?
Yes, that's true.
And now you know why. Oedipus was too chicken-hearted to have the boy locked up. So he was allowed to go off and join the Argive army. And no sooner did he reach Argos, did the attempts upon your father's life begin. One after another, men slipped into Thebes from Argos, all intent on assassinating him. Every killing we caught always ended by confessing who had put him up to it, who'd paid him to try it. But Polynices wasn't the only one. That is what I'm trying to tell you. I want you to know what happened in that bathroom, in that smelly kitchen of politics. I want you to know what happened in the wings of this drama you're so burning to take apart in. Yesterday, I gave Antigone a state funeral with pomp and honors. Today, he's some saint in the eyes of Thebes. The whole city turned out to bury him. I gave a speech myself. Every temple priest was there to give a show of sorrow and solemnity on his stupid face. Well, what else could I have done? People had taken sides in the Civil War. Both sides couldn't have been wrong. It was too much for them to swallow. Two gangsters was more luxury than I could afford. But that is what I'm trying to tell you. Antigone, that great-hearted son, he'd done his best to procure the assassination of his father. And that same great-hearted prince also offered to sell out Thebes to the highest bidder. It's funny, isn't it? Polynices lies rotting in the sun. Antigone, he's given some state funeral, be housed in a marble vault. Yet, I have absolute proof that everything Polynices did, Antigone planned to do. They were a pair of assassins! Both spoils. Each had spitted on the other's soul, and the Argive cavalry had trampled them down, and they were mashed to a pulp. Antigone. I had the pretty of the two goddesses bride, gave it some state funeral. The other, I left to rot. I don't know which is which, but I assure you, I don't care.
Why do you tell me this?
You hold a treasure in your hands, life. And you were about to throw it away. Go, find me, be happy. Life is not what you think it is. Life is a child playing round your feet, a tool to hold firmly in your grasp, a bench to sit down upon in the evening in your garden. People will tell you that that's not life, that life is something else. They will tell you that because they know your strength and your fire and want to make use of you. Don't believe it. Hear me when I tell you that life is after nothing else. The happiness that you get out of it.
Happiness.
It's not much of a word, is it?
What kind of happiness do you foresee for me? Paint me a picture of your happy Antigone. What are the unimportant little sins I shall have to commit before I'm allowed to sink my teeth into life and tear happiness from it? To whom shall I have to lie? Upon whom shall I have to fawn? Who do you want me to lay dying while I turn my eyes? Why do you ask me to be quiet when all I want to know is how to be happy? You're telling me that life is some great thing, and I want to know what I must do in order to say that myself.
Do you love Haman?
Yes, I love Haman. The Haman I love is hard and young and faithful and difficult to satisfy the way I am. But if what I love in Haman is to be torn down by stepstone of a thing you call life, a thing you call happiness, if Haman stops growing pale with fear when I grow pale, and if he stops feeling alone on this earth when I laugh and he doesn't know why, if he too has to learn to say yes to everything, then no, I do not love Haman.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about.
I do know what I'm talking about. It is you who can't hear me. I'm too far away from you now, talking to your kingdom you can't get into. With your preaching and your politics and your persuasive logic, I laugh at your smugness, Creon, thinking you could prove me wrong by telling me vile stories about my brother, or alter my purpose with your platitudes of happiness.
It's your happiness too.
I spit on your idea of happiness. I spit on your idea of life. That life must come and go but may. You are all dogs that look everything they smell.
Oh, scream on, daughter of Oedipus!
Yes! In my father's own voice, you have just told me the filthy reasons why you cannot bury Polyneices. So tell me why I cannot bury them.
Because it is my order!
The order of a coward king who desecrates the dead.
Oh, be quiet. If you could see how ugly you are screaming these words.
Yes, I'm ugly. Father was ugly too, but he became beautiful, and you know when? At the very end. When all of his questions had been answered. When he could no longer doubt that he killed his own father and gone to bed with his own mother. That he knew he had to die if he was to be lifted from his people. Then he was at peace. Then he could smile. Almost. There's you. Look at yourself, Creon. That glint of suspicion in the corner of your eyes. That crease in the corner of your power-loving mouth. Oh, you said the word a minute ago. The smelly kitchen of politics. That's where you were fathered and dwelt. In a filthy kitchen!
Tell me quiet! Do you hear me? That's an order!
You order me? Do you really think you can give me orders, cook?
Antigone, the altar room is full of people. Do you want them to hear you?
Open the doors. Let us make sure they can't hear me.
Shut up! Just shut up, I tell you!
Antigone, you were
Take them away.
Oh no! Creon!
You are out of your mind, Creon. What have you done?
No man was strong enough to dissuade her. Polynices was a mere pretext.
That is not the truth, Creon, and you know it.
And what did you want me to do? Condemn her to live?
Father!
Forget Antigone. Forget her, my dearest boy.
How can you talk like that?
I did everything that I could to save her. I swear I did. That girl doesn't love you. She could have gone on living, but she refused. She wanted it this way. She wanted to die.
Father, they are dragging Antigone away. You've got to stop
There's
them.
nothing I can do. Antigone has spoken. I cannot save her now.
You must.
I cannot.
Recall your edict. Bury Polynices.
The law must be upheld.
But Father, you are master!
I am master under the law, not above it.
But you made that law yourself. You cannot let Antigone be taken away from me.
There is nothing I can do. Antigone must go. And you must live.
Live? For what? A life without Antigone? A life in which I have to go on admiring as you busy yourself with your kingdom? Not without Antigone. I love Antigone. She never struck a pose and waited for me to admire her. She never looked at herself, she looked at me and expected me to be somebody. And I was when I was with her. Do you think I'm not going to go after her? I will not live without Antigone!
You have to resign yourself to a life without Antigone. There comes a day of sorrow, each man's life, when he must cease to be a child and take up the burden of being a man. And that day has come for you.
That giant strength, that courage, that massive God who used to pick me up in his arms and shelter me from shadows and monsters. Was that man you, Father? Was that man you?
Yes, that was me.
Well, you were not that man today! For if you were, you know the people revere those gods that you despise. You cannot kill Antigone. She will not have been dead an hour before shame will rest on every Theban forehead, and horror will fill every Theban heart. The people already curse you because you did not bury Polynices. If you kill Antigone, they will hang you!
Silence! My edict stands.
Creon, the gods have a way of punishing injustice.
The gods.
Creon, that boy is wounded to
We
death.
are all wounded to death.
Chief, the people are crowding into the palace.
And I don't want to hear the cow anymore. You're going to kill me. Do it quickly. I want to be alone when it's over.
Clear out the palace.
It's you, isn't it?
What do you mean?
The last human face I shall see. Was it you that arrested me this morning?
Yeah, that was me.
You hurt me. You didn't need to hurt me, but I act as if I was trying to escape.
Come on now, miss. It was my business to arrest you. I did it.
How old are you?
29.
Do you have any children?
Yeah, 2.
Do you love your children?
What's that got to do with you?
Listen,
Yes, miss?
I'm going to die soon. Do you think it hurts to die?
How would I know? Of course. If somebody sticks a saber in your guts and turns it around, it hurts.
How are they going to put me to death?
Well, I'll tell you. I heard the proclamation all right. There isn't much that gets away from me. It seems that they don't want to... Wait a minute, how did that go now? In order that our fair city should not be polluted with her sinful blood, she shall be immured. That means they shove you in a cave and wall up the cave.
A lie?
Yep.
Outside of the southeast gate of the town, in the caves of Hades in broad daylight. Some detail, eh? For them, that's on the job. First, I thought it was a job for the army. Now it looks like it's going to be the guards. There's an outfit for you. Nothing the guards can't do. No wonder everyone's jealous.
A pair of animals.
What do you mean a pair of animals?
When the wind blows cold, all they need to do is press up against each other for warmth. I'm all alone.
Say, is there anything you want? I can send out for it, you know.
You're very kind. Yes, there is something I want. I want you to give a letter to someone for me.
How's that again? A letter?
Yes, I want to write a letter and you to give it to someone for me after I'm dead. I'll give you this ring for it.
No, can't do. Suppose I go through my pockets, I might get 6 months for a thing like that. Listen, tell you what I'll do. You tell me what you want to say, and I'll write it down in my book. Then afterwards, I'll tear out the pages and give them to the party. See, if it's in my handwriting, it's all right.
In your handwriting?
Yeah.
Poor darling, your handwriting?
Okay, it's no skin off my
No,
nose.
keep it. But be quick about it. We're running out of time. Are you ready? Right now. My darling.
The boyfriend, eh?
My darling. I had to die, and perhaps you may not love me anymore.
Love me anymore.
Perhaps you think it would have been simple to accept life,
To accept life.
but it was not for myself. And now I'm all alone down here. It's cold and it's dark and there's
Hey,
shadows.
take it easy. How fast do you think I can write here?
Where are you?
Dreadful here alone, I am afraid.
No. Scratch that out. Nobody must know that it's if they saw me naked and dead and touched me. Scratch that out and just write, forgive me.
I scratch out everything you said there at the end and I put down, forgive me.
Yes. Forgive me. You would have all been so happy if it hadn't been for Antigone. I love you.
Then for Antigone, I love you. Is that all?
Yes,
You know, that's a funny kind of letter.
I know.
Now, who was it to?
I'm not done yet.
Shut up!
Creon's turn. It is late afternoon.
The queen, where's the queen?
What do you want with the queen? What did you tell the queen?
News to break her heart. Antigone had been thrust into the cave. They hadn't finished heaving the last blocks of stone to place when Creon the rest heard a sudden moaning from the tomb. It was Haman's voice that came forth. Everybody looked at Creon, howled like a man demented. Take away the stones! Take away the stones! The slaves left at the wall of stone, and Creon worked with them till finally a narrow opening was forced. Antigone had hanged herself by the cord of her robe. Haman was on his knees, holding her in his arms and moaning. Creon in the tomb, I could hear him begging Haman to rise to his feet, but Haman was deaf to his father's voice. Till suddenly, he stood up of his own accord. Anguish was in his face. He stared at his father, then struck him hard in the face. He pulled out a knife and lunged at Creon. Creon kept out of range. Haman went on staring at him, his eyes filled with contempt. A glance Creon couldn't escape, and without a word, he stabbed himself and lay down beside Antigone, embracing her in a great pool of blood.
I have them laid out, side by side. Two lovers in marvelous bright. Their work is done.
Not yours, Creon. You still have one thing to learn. You're in a seat. Queen. Your wife.
A good woman.
When the queen was told of her son's death, she waited carefully until she finished her robe, and put down her knitting calmly as she did everything. She went up to her room, and there, Creon, she cut her throat. She's laid out now, exactly where you went to her one night when she was still a maiden. Her smile is still the same. One might think she was asleep.
She too is asleep there.
They're all asleep. Must be a good sleep. Tomorrow they will sleep sweetly in the earth, Creon. You who would not bury Eurydice will bury Haman and Antigone too. The gods play hands in every game, Creon, even in politics.
The task is there to be done. They say it's dirty work, but if I don't do it, who will?
And now you are alone, Creon.
Yes. All alone. What time is it?
5 o'clock, sir.
And what have I to do today at 5 o'clock?
Calculating, sir.
Calculating. Gotta get on with it.
And there we are. All those who were meant to die have died. Those who believed one thing, those who believed the contrary thing, and even those who believed nothing at all.
Creon was the most rational, the most persuasive of tyrants. But like all tyrants, he refused to distinguish between the things that are Caesar's and the things that are God's. Now and again in 3,000 years since the first Antigone, other Antigones have arisen like a clarion call to remind men of this distinction. Their cause always the same: a passionate belief that moral law exists, and a passionate regard for the sanctity of human dignity.
While Antigone is calm tonight, she has played her part. A great wave of unrest now settles down upon Thebes, upon the empty palace, upon Creon, who can now only begin to long for his own death. Only the guards are left, none which matters to them. It's no skin off their noses. They go on playing cards.
I was trying to tell him. He didn't come, remember?
Oh, yeah.
I was trying to tell him that was bad.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this way. I think we're all going to meet outside. Okay, phone and call the operator. Down there? Yes.
Hey.